Oh, welcome to the April Student of the Month. My name is Jennifer Ulix. I'm the Student Activities Director. This is Dr. Scott, our principal. When we call you together today, it's to celebrate these wonderful students that we see in front of you. We're going to hear in a moment from our staff why those students were selected, and it's such a cool way to end the week and to celebrate the month because each teacher comes up with their own criteria by which they've selected the student, which makes it very special and very unique to those individuals. So parents and grandparents, you should feel very proud. And teachers, thank you so much, and staff and administrators, thank you for taking the time to recognize these students. Thank you to Wildcat Productions, who are filming today. You can go ahead and go online and download the program, so you can forever keep this moment, look at it in 10 years and giggle at your outfits and what you look like we do when we, right, look at it in 10, yes. Thank you to Kelly Brogio. She is over there at the desk. She does all the behind-the-scenes work in putting things together. Michelle Jones for taking our photographs today. And what we'd like to happen is when the staff member comes up, students, you're going to join them, and you're going to stand right here, like where where Dr. Scott is. Yes, and you'll be embarrassed and get all red and flush, but that's all part of the celebration. And we want you to stand here so that we can get you in the frame of the camera, okay? And then we'll take a photograph of you before you sit down. Parents, feel free to jump up and take a photograph or video with your phones. And at the end, we will take one large photograph of one large group shot of everybody. And then today, Jack is the local owners of the Domino's. I'm getting all my words mixed up. He's the owner of the local Domino's, and he couldn't be with us here today, but he sponsors the program, and he sends all of the students home with a certificate for a large free pizza. So you know what you're having for dinner this weekend. Students, if you want to share with the family. If not, you don't have to. And there's also some other goodies from the community in this little goodie bag, so make sure you get that before you walk away from your photograph today, okay? So, right. So we will get started. Dr. Scott will lead us through today's program, so thank you.
I think there's also a program in here.
Oh, there is, with the nomination, yeah.
Yeah. Also in there is a program with a paragraph that your teacher wrote, the teacher wrote about your student. And I always think those are so heartwarming to read. Sometimes teachers come up here and read that exactly, and sometimes they come up here and share something a little bit different, and that way you always have that for a memento too. And thank you to parents for coming, because you complete that circle of all the things that make Libertyville great: students, parents, and teachers working together to support your children. So thanks for being here today. We always have a full house here, and we're appreciative of that as well. So let's get started first of all, and we have Mrs. O'Day coming forward with Emily and Mia, a double duo, yeah.
Okay, so I'm actually filling in for Mrs. Tarrant today, who is in Springfield, Illinois with our FCCLA club. But I'm just going to read what she wrote about Emily and Mia, and I have seen them in action, and they're great in the preschool room with the kids. So I've nominated both Emily and Mia for Student of the Month for their outstanding work in my preschool class. We've been running the preschool class for just over 3 weeks now, and Emily and Mia have been wonderful to have in class. They both are natural leaders and step up to help me without even having to ask. Having anywhere from between 14 to 18 preschoolers in a room at a time can be busy, to say the least. I cannot be everywhere at once, and with Emily and Mia, I don't need to be. They take the initiative to keep the kids occupied, clean up the tables, get coats on, pass out projects, the list goes on and on. Sometimes it is really crazy in that room, I'm not gonna lie. Like, there are kids everywhere and everything's going on, and so it's great to have people that are really great, a really great help. They taught their first lesson together, and I was so impressed with the work they did. Their lesson about occupations kept the kids engaged and excited throughout the entire class period. Quite an accomplishment with this age group. 3 to 5-year-olds, right? 3 to 5? Yeah. They were very creative with their lesson plan, and I can't wait to see what they plan for future lessons. I appreciate the hard work that Mia and Emily have put into getting the preschool class off to a successful start, and they both deserve the honor of being Student of the Month for our department. So, Emily and Mia. Okay.
soon you'll have Mrs. O'Day's son or daughter in your class, right? Do you have a lot of teachers' children in there? Couple?
There's about like 8 teachers and then.
No, I mean children of our teachers. Do you? Okay, so you get to meet them as well and see if they're really like their mom or dad, right? Or see if they misbehave and you can go tell their mom and dad. Next we have Johan, and he's being introduced by Mr. Farrell.
All right. In our LST, we talked about, each week we have meetings, and we talked about the student month, and Mrs. Stevens, who is Johan's counselor, said, I have the person to nominate for student of the month. Johan, our exchange student from Germany. And she went on and on about all the amazing things he has done. And to be honest, transitioning into high school is not an easy thing for anybody, let alone coming from another country, coming into a brand new school. And when I look at this picture of Johan, it's like, that's him, the sweetest, kindest guy. We have really enjoyed you being here. And I think he's enjoyed himself too. Johan makes his way into the LST, it says in here, quite often. And we have a student with disabilities, and Johan has befriended him. And comes frequently to visit us to eat, and I think he's had a great experience. He stayed with the Schneider family first semester, and he's currently with the Jirac family. And I just want to share a little story. Natalie Jirac, a student here who's also a great kid, we were at Snowball this past winter, and we were just talking, and Johan, your name came up. I can't remember how it was, and Natalie said, he is the greatest. She said, one Saturday morning, I looked in my backyard, and Johan had built a ski jump, and he was in the backyard with his skis, and he was jumping. He made it like a little mountain, and he said, I missed the snow and I missed skiing, so he created his own mountain, and he was skiing in their backyard. I think he also loves the sand, because one of the benefits of coming to Libertyville High School as an exchange student is the Jiracs took Johan to St. Lucia over spring break. So he's had a lot of benefits also from being here, which is quite nice, I think. You enjoyed that, right? Was that fun?
I loved it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Pretty easy to take, yeah. All right. So, Johan, we want to thank you for being such a great kid, making such an awesome transition. I think that says a lot about your maturity to come into high school here and do so well and make everybody around you feel good and feel better. So, congratulations. You're welcome.
Johan, what's the first thing you tell your German friends about American schools? About St. Lucia? Next we have Miss Powell, and she's introducing Elliot.
To adjust this for short people. Okay, so I told him I didn't know if I was going to read from the program or ad-lib, but I think I'm going to ad-lib because I know it makes him a little nervous. I did tell Elliot's 4th period class, my American Lit class, that actually, if there's one period of the day that I know I might be guaranteed to have a little bit of a laugh, it's that class. And they were very, pleased with that. And Elliot is a large reason for that, actually. So a little known fact, because I don't think I've ever told any of my students this, is, and I hate to use the term class clown because I feel like it has a negative connotation, but I'm not using it in a negative way. If you're going to be the class clown, so to speak, 2 things. Number 1, you have to actually make me laugh and be funny. If you can do that, I will let you continue because, hey, everybody needs a little bit of joy in their day. And secondly, I need to be able to harness it to my advantage for class. And so Elliot allows me to do that because I didn't discover this until we read our first play. It's The Crucible, or it was The Crucible. For those people who have not read The Crucible, it's a little dry. I will admit, reading about Puritans. Elliot read one of the female leads, which I said, hey, go for it, with a voice that I'm sure I do not have in my register. I've never seen children so enthralled in The Crucible. And so, of course, every time we need to read something out loud, I don't even bother anymore. I just ask for volunteers. He will always volunteer for whatever it is. Once I did say, well, I need you to be serious this time. He said, I can be serious. I had my doubts, but I said, go for it and try. And he did an excellent job. We're going to be reading another play in a couple of weeks. I'm just going to assume he's going to take a role. I really hope so, because it just makes my life so much easier. In addition to that, he's a very diligent student, always, hardworking, always trying to avoid homework like they all are. But hey, if you're doing the work in the process, so much the better. So I really enjoy having him in class. I don't know if he totally knew that until today. So I am glad to have this moment to explain and to share my appreciation for Elliot and his contributions to my American literature class.
Elliot, you knew that before today, didn't you? Of course. I'm going to think of the crucible. Congratulations. Next, we have Mr. Giard introducing Elizabeth.
It's good? C'est bon. So my name is Mr. Guillard, and I'm going to read about it because I read so much that I don't want to miss anything. So, Elizabeth Shipman. It is a privilege to nominate Elizabeth as our French Student of the Month. Elizabeth has been in my French 4 honors class since August, and I am very pleased to see how Elizabeth's French knowledge, classroom participation, and involvement has grown. And it's the fact, like, when you are the teacher, you see people at the beginning of the year, and you see them at the end of the year, and sometimes you really do realize that, yeah, sometimes I do make a difference, or I have done something that, the first time it's like, and then sometimes, people answer your questions, or anyway. So it is very rewarding for me as a teacher to witness Elizabeth having fun learning new vocabulary, new grammar, new cultural information, and using it on a daily basis. It isn't always right. And sometimes it can be a little frustrating. Is it the right word? Frustrating?
I think so.
Can be frustrating sometimes?
I think that's the right word.
Yeah, exactly. I think so. But Elizabeth had the tenacity to learn and practice what she has learned. Compared to the beginning of the year, I really appreciate and enjoy Elizabeth's participation in class. And now, you can see Elizabeth, raise your hand and, say the answer. And so she's not afraid to raise her hand and give a right or wrong answer. Okay, mostly right. But Mrs. Guillard also told me that Elizabeth has been a dedicated member of the French club for the last 2 years. But I think that's the class. But I have something even better I need to share with you. And I think the best testimony of Elizabeth's character comes from Sylvie. Hey, you have no idea who Sylvie is. But Sylvie, exactly. But Sylvie was our guide during the 6-day spring break trip to Montreal and Quebec that Mrs. Guillard organized, and I came along because she needed a chaperone. So I say, why not? So during the 6 days, Elizabeth was the best ambassador for our French department, our district, and even our country. Sylvie is a native French speaker from Quebec, and she was very impressed, of course, with all of our students' ability to speak and understand all of our stories and comments in authentic French. But Elizabeth's name came up on several occasions in our conversation during dinner or during our own conversation, and Sylvie praised her for her interest, her questions, and her enthusiasm, especially on the ice rink. But it's a private story. Sorry, you can ask her for later, but I don't have pictures, but I have stories. And also the daily conversation that she had with Elizabeth one-on-one in French. These are just like a few reasons I share with you to show how appreciative Mrs. Guillard and I, because it's not only me, but Mrs. Guillard also agree 100% with me, to have Elizabeth in our classes for the past 3 years. And I am looking forward to having Elizabeth in class as well as next year in French 5 AP. Thank you very much.
He's not even hearing.
He's a great role model, and he's kind of someone that I would like to be maybe one day.
That's kind of cool. I asked her if that impact that you were feeling was realized, and she said yes. You're a role model to her. Go ahead, say it from your mouth so you can hear it from you.
You're one of my favorite teachers ever, Mr. Guillard.
And I always love to hear when you agree 100% with your wife. Wasn't that great? Does that ever happen? Next, we have Mr. Gore, and he's introducing Grant.
Hi there. This is Grant. You may not recognize Grant's face, but you've probably heard him somewhere. If you've been to any of the fine arts events at LHS this year, or even some of our athletic events, Grant's pretty much involved in every aspect of what we do. He's one of our captains on our Wildcat drum line, so he was here all through the fall doing all that stuff. He was also at the same time learning all the parts to be the pit drummer for the musical. So if you saw Starlight Express, he was there. Maybe you've seen the concert bands in performance, or the jazz bands, or heard the jazz combo over at the library, or any of the other gigs that they do out in the community. Grant's the guy behind all of that. He's really been involved in pretty much every aspect of our fine arts program. Those of you that are involved in fine arts or have been around it might know that every performance is a result of hours and hours of practice behind the scenes. And that's not unusual. We have rooms and rooms full of kids that do that. What is unusual, though, is that those performances also involve a lot of logistical work, a lot of details to be managed. And this is where Grant really stands out for us. He's taken the lead in a lot of cases, pretty much everything involved with the drums, be it the drum line or the jazz bands or what have you. And he makes sure that all the equipment is set up, running the way it should be. Everything's packed, stored, ready to go. And trust me, if you've ever tried to wrangle about 15 to 20 junior or high school drummers, juniors and seniors mostly, that's not an easy job. And for Grant to do that is really a remarkable thing. Probably the best example of that, if you happen to go to our winter recognition assembly that had the blacklight assembly, right, in February. That was a great event, a lot of fun. And we were contacted asked to provide the drum line for that. Hey, this would be a really cool thing. And Mr. Karnstedt and Mr. Helvey and I talked to each other. We're like, man, this is crazy busy. We've got 2 concerts this week, a guest artist coming in. I don't know if we can do this. We said, hey, if it's going to happen, here's a guy to talk to, and give him Grant's email. And he took the whole thing on himself. I don't know if you saw the drumline performance there. What we don't normally, what probably wasn't said about it was that it was all student run. And Grant took the lead on all of that, from organizing the music and the rehearsals to making sure all the equipment was ready to go and everybody had the right uniforms and all that stuff, which is great and really, again, makes our school a neater place to have somebody like that working behind the scenes and making us all look good. So, and more importantly, sound good. So, thanks very much, Grant. We're really proud to have you in our department, and congrats on Student of the Month. All right.
Congratulations. Now, when your child wants to take up the drums when they're here for you, when did it turn? When did he get so good? Have you been doing it for a long time, Grant? Oh, wow. That is a long time. Long time. Okay, next we have Julia, and she's introduced by Mrs. Lewick.
Let's see. I'm going to read, and then I'll kind of throw some stuff in there for us. But we have Julia here today, one of the Cleary bunch. And so reason I've nominated Julia, I said her effort and discreet and positive attitude and her drive to learn, especially in mathematics, which is not all of our favorite, makes her an absolute joy to have in class. She comes in every day ready to learn, no matter how difficult the material or how long the day has been. We have Algebra 2 8th hour, so that's not always great for people. We're kind of done by the end of the day and checked out, but Julia does great. Julia has learned to take responsibility for her own learning and will often stop by my desk, ask a few quick questions, just to ensure that she's on the right path. From time to time, Julia will come in the morning and see me. We have open math hours before school starts. She comes in just to either check her work, answer questions, and really make sure that she knows exactly what she needs to for the day. I really think it's super refreshing to see a student do that and take responsibility for their own learning instead of just waiting for me to tell them that they're right or wrong later. Naturally, Julia leads by example, and she demonstrates strong character in class. She treats the peers and educators with respect and earns plenty in return. I think the biggest thing about that is I feel like I can have a conversation with Julia. Like, we can talk, she can let me know how her weekend went or what her brother was doing that she thought was crazy, and it's an actual conversation. And not only does she tell me what's going on with her, but she remembers to ask, like, oh, well, what did you do? And she's very, like, invested in those that she talks to, and I think that's so special to see at such a young age. Julia's a driven athlete here at LHS. Tennis, just tennis, right? Mm-hmm. Yep, so she plays tennis in the fall, and during that kind of difficult, time-consuming, trying to squeeze it all in the fall, she does such a great job. I know I can always count on Julia to meet challenges head-on in class and to kind of encourage those around her. It's sometimes a difficult class, 8th hour, Algebra 2. It's a little bit tough, and she kind of wrangles those around her, and we get through it. So that's why I wanted to nominate Julie. I think she's an excellent nomination for Student of the Month.
Congratulations. You know, as Ms. Lewick was describing you, I couldn't help but thinking she was describing a little bit of herself, too. You guys are a little bit alike. That's probably why you can let you see it, too. You see it, Kurt? Yeah. Congratulations. There you go. And next we have Mr. Busing, and he's introducing Sarah.
First, I wanted to echo the sentiments of both Dr. Scott and the other teachers here that these are great kids. But we never forget that we have a little bit to do with it, but they started being great kids a long time ago. They started being great kids because someone was reading to them before they could read. These are great kids because someone made sure they did their homework at night and cared about them and took them places and taught them things and gave them experiences that brought them to this point where now a student like Sarah shows up in my class and really makes my job easy. These are the kind of kids that are in this room. It started with you. It might end with us in high school, but it didn't start with us. Sarah is the Student of the Month nominee for two main reasons. One, academics. Sarah is acing the physics class. Out of 75 students that I teach, her scores are at and near the top on every exam. She is brilliant. She's an excellent mathematician, which only helps when trying to solve those tough physics problems. She is not only a good student, but she's a good teacher. She helps her group out. When her group has tough questions, they're struggling in lab, she's their go-to. She's the one that can solve those problems for them. So that's one reason. The other reason is how she interacts with those other students and adults. Like a lot of you have said, a lot of the other teachers have said, she has those adult conversations. She has that mature attitude, that mature sense of humor, the bright smile, as she's demonstrating now, that just rounds out that brilliant mind with some great personality and a caring attitude about her fellow students. So for those two reasons, Sarah Leonard is Student of the Month.
Those are two huge reasons. I just saw last period too. I saw a lot of those things he was talking about. I did. But you know what? I'm really impressed by the intelligence too, because sometimes when I run with Mr. Mark in the morning, I just pretend like I know what he's talking about. Congratulations. Yeah, free pizza. And after all that, there's the free pizza comment, right? Next, we have someone we probably all recognize. We have Mr. Gorse introducing Mason. As you cannot miss that smile in this building.
You want to talk?
No.
No? Okay. Trying to pinpoint one thing or one reason to nominate Mason for Student of the Month was kind of tough. I've had Mason in class now for 3 years, and every day is just an absolute blast with him. I don't think there's anyone walking around this building that hasn't had some type of interaction with Mason. And if you haven't, when you do, I guarantee you'll be leaving that interaction with a smile. He has a great way of just bringing out something good in everybody, no matter what the situation is. My day starts with him every day. I'm waiting in the hallway by the locker rooms, and he's always talking to somebody different. And I don't even know if they know who he is sometimes. He just picks up a conversation and talks to that person like he's known them forever. Asks them what their weekend is. He likes what they're wearing, if they've seen a movie, anything like that. And the person always leaves with a smile. And that continues right into class. I don't think there's anyone in our class of 23 kids that meet every single day together that does not look forward to having a conversation with him. And it's the same thing all the time. The conversation always ends with somebody laughing. And what a great way to start class, with everybody smiling and being in a good mood. It makes my job a lot easier. It makes my job a lot more fun. And he carries that with him into whatever we do in class. He's a tremendously hard worker. He has an intensity when he gets to work that I don't think a lot of people would expect to see out of him when they see him walking down the hallway. But he's got a inner drive to him and desire to succeed and push himself and to work as hard as he can to get the most out of himself. So again, I could go on for a long time with a lot of stories about Mason, why I chose him for Student of the Month, and I'm lucky because I get to have him next year in class as well, and the stories and memories will only continue to grow and build upon that. So for those reasons, and those reasons alone, I nominate Mason for Student of the Month. Good job, bud.
One time I tried to have a conversation walking down the hallway. Forget it. Too many people stop to want to be with you, right? And next we have Mr. Thompson introducing Allison.
I always seem to go towards the end, and it's just not fair because everything that I want to say about Allison has already been said. So, there you go. Actually, I was sitting down. I remember last year I was thinking about Student of the Month for sophomores, and Allison was one of those that popped in my mind. I'm like, oh, she's already been Student of the Month, so I can't nominate her again. So this year when I was thinking of juniors, I thought, oh, maybe I'll, and this time I decided to actually look and find out if she had been nominated, and I found out she had not, which actually shocked me, absolutely shocked me that that she hadn't been nominated yet for Student of the Month because there's no way she didn't deserve it by every teacher she's had. I've been lucky to have her for 2 years. And the one word that I can think of when I think of her is leadership. She comes in a class of mainly boys. My area tends to get more boys than girls, which we're always thrilled to have the girls when they do choose. And she takes charge of every group she's in, whenever it's necessary. Whenever it comes down to be necessary, if someone's got to lead, she steps up, even if she doesn't want to. She might start off, kind of looking behind the scenes, but then it always ends up being her leading the group. And as an engineer, that's something you need to have, those types of skills, and she does. I have no doubt in my mind she's going to be a tremendous engineer. Mr. Busing talked about intelligence, and I would echo that with her. And the only difference between Mr. Busing and myself is I always have to look up and find out what she's asking and find out if, since I didn't know the answer, I got to go find out the answer because I wasn't sure. So I don't want to tell her the wrong thing, so I want to do that. But what a tremendous young lady she is, and I've enjoyed having her in class, and I'm hoping I get the chance to have her again next year. And that's why I've nominated her as Student of the Month. Congratulations.
You're one of those people, so many people are like, what is the secret formula to be Student of the Month? You haven't figured out that there is no formula. That's the thing. Congratulations. Keep reading what you got down there. And last but not least, we have Mr. Brum introducing Jackson.
Last but not least, Jackson. All right, I'm here to nominate Jackson for Student of the Month. I've had the pleasure of knowing Jackson for the last 3 years. He's been in my tutorial area, and academically, he's just made great growth, I would say, within the last 3 years. He's always prepared for class. He always has his homework done. He participates. And I think I was looking through Power School, and I literally think he has not missed a homework assignment in 3 years. So the dedication, yeah. Which is also a testament to, his parents at home that make sure that he does get that stuff done. But, he's very regular. He gets his stuff, and he goes, and he's on point with all of his classwork every day, and he wants to make sure that he gets that stuff done, and that's first and foremost for Jackson. Other teachers usually come up to me when I see him in the hallways, and they will say, do you have Jackson? Do you have Jackson? I'll say, yeah, I work with Jackson, and then they'll say, oh, it's such a pleasure to have Jackson in class. So all the teachers that he's had freshman year, sophomore year, this year, they find me in the hallways, and they say nothing but positive things about Jackson and say what a pleasure he is to have in class. So that's wonderful, and keep up the good work with that. Socially, Jackson also has come a long way. I would say in the beginning, maybe freshman year, when I would interact with Jackson, I'd ask him questions, and I don't know if he just personally didn't like me at the time or not, but I would ask him a question, and he would just give me a one-word answer, and that's it. And now we're kind of to the point where Mondays are my favorite day because Jackson comes in from the weekend, and we probably have a 10, 15-minute conversation of our weekends. He asks me how my kids are doing, and he's come a long way. We even have secret stories about the family. So I know a lot about you guys. Also, probably one of the biggest obstacles that Jackson's overcome this year has been with his job training. So he does go outside into the community, learn job skills, and we've thrown a bunch of curveballs at him this semester. I think we've changed his job placement 2 to 3 times, and Jackson loves schedule. Jackson loves things on his terms and nice and orderly. And, well, Jackson, we're going to switch your job placement, and he would go with it, but you could sense the frustration that he had. But, he was able to trust us, and he was able to take it in strides, and he's come out the other end, and he's done a great job. So great job with all the work. And I just want to leave you with a quick quote that Jackson has said to me that's resonated, and I actually say this to my own kids at home, so it's funny that he played this card with me. I asked him, I think it was his sophomore year, I said, Jackson, you're going to go get a job this year. And he just looked at me and said, "School is my job, Mr. Brum." It's like serious as could be, so I think that's why he's so successful, so keep up the good work.
Makes his job too easy. I want you to be a little tougher on him, but you're doing all that good work, okay?
Okay.
And where are you working right now?
Learning resources.
You like this one?
Yes.
Good, good. And now if I could call all the students up here so we could take a group picture. Feel free to get some more food. Take a picture yourselves, and thank you so much for coming to support everyone.